Hey stats guys, we're going to look at how to use Google Sheets to find missing z-scores. Like we know an area, but we need to find a z-score. And you have to understand these normal dist features that we were using before. We knew a z-score, we were given a z-score, and we had to find the area below it, or to the right of it, or between it. This one is the opposite of that, or the inverse of that. We're given the area and we need to find the z-score, the number that has that area to the left of it. So I'm going to write on here inverse normal area to the left. So what I'm going to do in a situation like this is equals in, I'm going to start typing, norm, and then the option is norm.inv. So norm.inv wants to know the number, the area to the left of it. So that's this number. It's got to be to the left. Your mean and your standard deviation. So my mean is 0, standard deviation is 1. There's the number. All right, it wants it to 2 decimal places, so 1.14. All right, let's do the same thing. We know I've done this example already. This is my area. This is the number. So let's just show that when I change this from 0.8729 like it was on the last problem to 2611, there's that number I get, negative 0.63999, so negative 64. So it takes in an area to the left and it spits out the number that has that area to the left of it. All right, inverse normal area to the right. So this one has an area of 0.9207 to the right of it, not to the left of it. Again, make sure you can see that. This area is to the left of the number, and now this area is to the right of the number. So we have to make an adjustment because inverse normal, or normal inverse, takes in the area to the left. All right, so I'm going to do equals norm.inverse. All right, takes in a number that has to be the area to the left. Well, the whole area is 1. So if I do 1 minus this, I'm left with this area to the left. And it has to take an area to the left. So I'm going to do 1 minus the number it gives me, comma. The mean is 0, the standard deviation is 1. So there's the number I'm looking for, negative 1.19. All right, so if the area that they give me is to the right, I have to make that adjustment by subtracting that area from 1 in that first position before I enter the mean and the standard deviation. All right, you could also subtract this ahead of time, but I do just the 1 minus in that first position and let Google Sheets subtract that for me. All right, let's jump down to one like this. All right, so these are percentiles instead of a picture of an area like we saw up above there, a picture with an area shaded above or below it. We're just given, we're not given a visual of it, we're just given the percent that's below. So what I have to do is understand the bottom 89% is that shaded region to the left. I always want the bottom because that's what inverse normal takes in. All right, so I'm going to just write up here percentiles, and this is like a P with some number. So I put NUM. So just make sure to change to a decimal. All right, you got to make sure you change that to a decimal for this to work. All right, so norm.inv, the number is 89% as a decimal, so 0.89. That's the bottom 89%. The mean is 0, standard deviation is 1. So there's the number I'm after. Okay. Now scroll down here. It wants a picture of what are we looking for? What are we trying to find here? So 89% is below the number, the bottom 89%. So that means we're shading in almost all of the bell curve, because remember the whole bell curve is 100%. So this is the one that has the majority of the bell curve shaded. All right, and it's got to be below bottom 89. So we're shading off into the left tail. So that's the bottom 89. So that's the one we want. That's B. And then it wants to know after you get that, what is the number? Where is that black line for this area to be 89% or 0.89? And the answer is that number that normal.inv gave us, 0.12 rounded to 2 places 3. 1.23, I should say. All right, same one, except for now it's 4% rather than 89%. So there's not going to be much below the number I'm looking for. So I'm looking for just a tiny little slither to the left because, again, bottom 4% is P4. So that's the one I want, is that one that has hardly anything shaded to the left. All right, and then I need to find out what that number is. So I would go back into this percentiles one, and I would change that 89% to 0.4. Okay, remember 4% is 0.04, and so it gives me that. Okay, now notice you can also, I'm going to just override that and write 4%, and it also gives me that number. So it understands percent. It'll convert it to a decimal for you if you use the percent symbol. So remember, P stands for percent, 4%, to plug that in there with your mean is 0 and 1, and it'll also find it. So negative 1.75. So there's percentiles. So just know normal dot dist is finding percentages or areas. Normal.inv or norm.inv without the dot will find numbers on the number line.